Medallions were introduced in Chapter 5, and with each season inside of Chapter 5, we've seen a brand new set of medallions introduced. So join me in today's video where we rank every single medallion that we have received inside of Fortnite Chapter 5. First up, we have the Mysterio Stealth Medallion that was introduced in Season 4. Now the basic function of this medallion is to conceal the user when crouching, which lasts for 15 seconds. And in my honest opinion, this is the only medallion on the list that I think is truly useless. For starters, the invisibility that this item gives you is pretty bad, as you can very easily see the outline of a player whenever they're using this ability. What also makes the medallion so useless in my opinion is that you can't shoot whenever you're using it, and it also disables once you pull out a weapon or once you get out from crouching. So in summary, I think the medallion could be good if the invisibility feature wasn't so obvious, but the execution is pretty bad, so the Mysterio Stealth Medallion will go into the F tier. Next up, we're gonna bundle up all of Season 1's medallions. These medallions all look different and can be obtained by different bosses on the map, but ultimately they all have the same function, as they'd replenish your shield over time. The amount of shields that you would be replenished depended on how many medallions you had in the inventory. One medallion would replenish 50 shields, 2 would give you 60 shields, 3 would give you 70 shields, 4 would give you 85, and if you had all 5 medallions, you'd be able to replenish 100 shields. So even though all these medallions weren't very unique, one medallion on its own was pretty useful, so I'll throw all of them into A tier. Next up, we have the aspect of speed that was introduced in Season 2. This medallion gave you the ability to run faster and jump higher. Now this is a medallion that on paper should have been great, but in practice it wasn't the best. Sprinting was faster, but it wasn't an unlimited sprint, and honestly, the higher jump ability messed me up more than it helped. Not to mention, in Season 2, we already had the Wings of Icarus, which was great for traversal, and the item also negated fall damage. So ultimately, this medallion is pretty useless in my opinion, so we'll put it in the C tier. Next up, we have the aspect of agility, which gave you charges of underworld dash over time for quick bursts of mobility. This medallion made it easy to escape fights, rotate, or to chase down an enemy player. Without the medallion, you'd only get 3 charges of the underworld dash, and you wouldn't replenish those dashes until you came in contact with underworld water. But this medallion would automatically replenish them over time, meaning that you would have access to the underworld dash throughout the entire match. So since the medallion was so useful, we'll throw the aspect of agility into the A tier. Next up, we have the aspect of combat medallion from Season 2. Once obtained, this medallion would give you increased damage for ranged weapons, and I never really cared about the medallion, as in all honesty, it's just a less useful version of the Ringmaster medallion, as at least that medallion had more damage with weapons, along with the bonus of infinite ammo. So with all that said, we'll put the aspect of combat medallion in the C tier. Next up, we have the Emma Frost Reveal Medallion from Season 4. This medallion occasionally marks nearby enemies, and it's essentially wall hacks without the ban. Before, to get this sort of feature, you had to use an item slot for something like the recon scanner, but now you simply have it in a medallion. So with all that said, I'll put the Reveal Medallion from Season 4 in the A tier. Next up, we have Megalodon's Medallion from Season 3. This medallion gave you unlimited nitro, which allowed you to run through objects, builds, and of course other players. Not only were you powerful upon contact with objects, but this medallion also gave you the perk of constant sprint with no need of a cooldown, meaning you could easily escape fights, track down opponents, or rotate around the map with ease. So given how useful nitro was in Season 3, and that this medallion gave you unlimited nitro, I'm gonna have to put it in the S tier. Next up, we have the Ringmaster Medallion from Season 3. This medallion made it to where your weapons received infinite ammo as well as increased damage. Now at first glance, it might be easy to write off this medallion, as I'd say it's pretty easy to garner a bunch of ammo throughout a match. But where this medallion really kicks in is that of course it launched within Season 3, where cars were the meta. And if you picked up the crossbow with the medallion, this ensured that you had infinite shots, which gave you a better chance in the endgame. So with the usefulness of unlimited ammo in a season where you mainly had to destroy a car before getting in a gunfight, on top of increased damage, I have to say that the Ringmaster Medallion lands in S tier. And finally, we have 3 medallions that are all fairly similar. The aspect of Siphon grants you health and Siphon upon elimination, and the Doombot Medallion does the same, so we'll put both of those into B tier. And then we have the Machinist Medallion, which replaces up to 75 shield over time without the need of eliminating opponents. So we'll put this medallion in A tier. So as always, my list isn't the right list, as it's just my list. So be sure to let me know down in the comments below how you would rank every single medallion inside of Chapter 5. Till next time, as always, take care and stay twisty.